Hello again, it's Mr. Pete222, that is tubalcain, and I'm fresh and ready to go here early in the morning, and this is episode number 40 of my This and That series. I put one on fairly recently, but I've got quite a few things to cover here, including some viewer appreciation gifts, and I want to show you some of the other items that I have here from my open house that were donated to me that you might find of interest, although some of this has been shown in that invitation video. But let me start out here by thanking Mr. Burrell out of Minnesota, who sent me a selection here of hex head bolts or screws, cap screws, whatever you want to call them, that I can use in my model making. You know, they're very hard to find, these little hex heads. Those are 440s. They can be cut off to any length, and these are 632s. So thank you for that, Mr. Burrell, and probably see some of those in my upcoming models. In one of my recent videos where I went garage sailing, I presented this and I said, I'm not sure what this is, and I should have known, but I don't know how many people wrote in to say that this is for a porter power, for body work and so on, but I'm not too familiar with body work. I've really never done any of that, but that's what this device is, and I think that those kits, those hydraulic kits, come with all kinds of different tools that can be used in straightening and so on in a body shop. Now, out of the clear blue sky, one Mr. Kurt Von Epp sent me this catalog, and Written is the name. It's I've never heard of this company. It's a very expensive, high-quality company. It reminds me, the catalog and the products, of the Royal Company. But among live centers and other things in here, he wanted to tell me about face drivers, and I was unfamiliar with face drivers. Now, it's not unlike spur centers that you might use in woodworking, but there are several pages here describing what face driving is, and there are various products here. But very quickly here in this photo, you can see that the work is held between centers but driven by these well, they're not dogs, but sharp ends, and they're showing you also how the tools can get in there and what the advantages are of using face drivers. And I have never used them, and I think it's really more for CNC, but it's interesting to read about these and see some of the different types that are shown here. So thank you, Kurt, for educating me and possibly some of the viewers out there. And there is a website if you want to check that out. There's the website. I get a kick out of their slogan there, solutions, not excuses. In a recent video where I turned down some of these wheels and tapered them, put a crown on them, and used mandrels, someone suggested something to me, and you've seen me use a Starrett taper gauge quite often, and they can be used to check slots, small slots. How else are you going to measure that? Well, you could with feeler gauges, but it's handy to use a taper gauge, and I can very quickly see that that slot there is 57 thousandths. But why am I showing you that? Because someone suggested, why don't you use these mandrels as basically taper gauges or go, no-go gauges for a certain job. This is a 1/2 inch, and when checked as if it's a gauge rather than a holding device, and I put a black mark there, I can measure the diameter of that hole, or this would be pre-measured possibly with a caliper, and I would know that that's 503 thousandths, and that's 505. So this could be used as a gauge, and that was a good suggestion. And these, of course, come in different sizes. Look back at that video on mandrels if that interests you. Many of you remember the good folks down at Vaughan and Bushnell who made this nice hammer for me. And I visited that plant, and there's a video on that. A lot of you watched that, but they sent a nice box full of hammers and pry bars here as door prizes. So there's, I think, 6 hammers here, all made in the USA. Look at those nice 16 ounces, and these are not factory seconds. And there's also some of the, where are they here, the 24 ounces. Almost too pretty to use. And a couple of their super bars that they make down there. So thank you very much, Lawn and Bushnell. Check out that video if you haven't seen it, but some lucky guys will win these. And then a couple days later I received this nice box from the Black Book Company. I'll give you their email address here in a minute, or their website, but Engineers Black Book, and these are door prizes, and they sent about 15 or 20 of these hot sheets, which are plasticized decimal equivalent type charts with other information on them, so those will be nice for somebody. And then there's about 25 or more of these black books, and I didn't realize that they have more than one type. I thought they just had the so-called Engineers, and this is the latest edition, 3rd edition, but they also have electrical black book and the fastener black book. So these are nice books. They go for about $25 or $30 a piece, and there's just a whole bunch of them here that will go out to lucky recipients here. And let me show you their website, which is right there. And check them out. They got a real nice website showing all their different products, and they have some other things besides even what I've shown here. But these are extremely nice reference books to have on your workbench. Everything you need to know about machine shop without paging through the Machinist Bible, which is, 3 inches thick. Also in the box was a hat, and this is for me. I believe they mean this is from Bruce Witham, and I think some of you remember Bruce Witham. He makes videos, and he's an expert at getting out broken taps and broken easy outs and broken bolts and things like that. So that's what that means, get her out. So thanks to Bruce, I'll be wearing this, and thanks to the Black Book Company and the good folks there that sent these out for you and me. I think I should say for you. From Banggood, a set of 9 boring bars, and one of these, I call them Christmas tree bits. These really are a great product. You've seen me use these, probably a different brand. And here's a set of their drill bits, so that'll be given away as a group. Thank you, Banggood. I made a video last February, and the video was about, I don't want to get too dirty here, about well, I can't get it out of there. Gears, 3D printed gears for the Atlas lathe. And remember, I installed one on the lathe, and it's still plugging along just fine. And this one has been immersed in oil since, where's the date? February 10th. And it is unaffected by the oil. Some people said, no, oil's going to dissolve that. It's no good. But so far, it seems to be a good system for creating hard to find gears for Atlas lathes. So watch that video. Many of you people watched my 3-part or more series of videos on rebuilding the pull gear speed reducer. Remember that? And watch for this in coming videos. Also, I'm going to make a video later today where I put this on a Delta bandsaw to reduce the speed of the bandsaw. But one Mr. Mark Pressling made a 5-part video series, and he actually builds one of these, the most difficult project. So check out his videos. And here are a couple of them on my phone brought up. And there's his name. He does a fine job on the videos, as well as making an almost impossible to make project. So check out Mark Pressling and his videos on the pull gear. This is just a little fun segment, so you can vote on this if you want, or ignore it if you prefer. But a man by the name of Bad Juju's just sent in some suggestions, and I always talk about Bubba, and he's a hammer and chisel mechanic, but he had some other suggestions. He said that possibly a hammer and duct tape mechanic is a good one. Or could it be machinist with a hatchet? Or could it be machinist with a claw hammer. Oh, that's way too nice a claw hammer. So just for the fun of it, tell the preference of what you think of a hammer and chisel mechanic, or a Bubba. What tools does he use in your mind? From time to time in my videos you might have seen my Webley gun, although mine is a 38 Smith & Wesson, but that's what I paid for it in the early 60s when they had them by the barrel full in all of the sporting goods stores such as Klein's. I have talked many times about the dangers of getting your finger wrapped up in a chuck key as you're tightening the chuck and you turn on the drill press with the other hand or whatever. And I did have a boy really bend up a finger years ago, and I've showed you this before, but I want to run through them again because one of these is kind of new. But of course this is a standard Jacobs chuck key, K3. They made 1 million of them, 10 million probably. This particular one also is a Jacobs product, and it is self-ejecting. So you cannot leave it in the chuck. Also, leaving it in the chuck is dangerous because sometimes somebody comes along and turns the drill on, and of course it'll fly out by centrifugal force. But this is a nice one. Whether or not you can still buy them, I do not know. And here's one that I only came upon recently in an auction box, and it has a little sleeve that ejects it. And it was made by a company, it's marked here, Miracle Instruments. I don't know if it's old or new or in between. That's rather ingenious, if I dare so. Then there was yet another kind. I think they were Supremes, and I bought them, I suppose, out of a school catalog, but they had a spring over them, and it was a nightmare. They were just horrible. Eventually had to cut them off, but the spring, of course, was tapered like this and captured around here, but it was just a mess, and it got caught, chips got caught in it, and it just wasn't something that was fun to use. Alright, so those are for your consideration. This next package was from Ken Godin. He's out in Connecticut, and he sent me several things here, but to start with, he said, and he did, so a couple of shrink rules, and this first one here is a Lufkin, and it's 1/10 to a foot. Oh, I gotta read that over. There it is. There's the shrink rate. And then the other one is also, well, that's a Starrett, and it is 5/32 to the foot. Thank you, Ken, for that. And then in the same package, he knows I do pattern making. He sent me, well, evidently he runs this company here, Camo Posidine Limited or something here, and he sells this super spray wax. So he sent me a quart of that along with the spray nozzle and some clean rags. You know, you never can get enough clean rags. So. And this neat megalite, which you plug in, and I guess it's for inspection. Look at the weird lamp in there, and it does work. The only thing I don't understand, I had thought maybe that there was a magnifying glass that went in here, but evidently not, because there is no glass. It just lights up, I guess, so you can look through there with your optivisor on, I guess. So thank you for that, Ken. Looks like a well-built unit. The flexible arm on it. And stand by for one more interesting thing that I'm going to show you. And then it'll be the end of the video. Well, I'm a hoarder, so I went to a nearby town. I saw this ad here for a hardware store that's been in business for 121 years. Everything is for sale, including the fixtures. Well, I'm going to show you a clip in just a minute. This did not come from that store. This just to show you what the beautiful Brown & Sharpe boxes look like. And I was very disappointed when somebody said they look like pajamas, but that's a real eye catcher for me. But I'm going to show you a video clip in a moment here of me in the store opening a cabinet about chest high, and inside was new old stock boxes. And that is the very cabinet that in 1966 I bought this Brown & Sharpe head and ruler from the owner of the store, and in the exact same position, but they did not have the tools displayed out front. You see some other, in the video, some other cheaper tools, and my buddy that I was with bought that drill gauge. So the lady opened that, and then I said, oh, I want to look at that. She says, no, you can't look at those. The owner hasn't gone through it yet. And I said, your sign outside and in the... I kind of confronted her. And in the newspaper said everything is for sale. And then she backed down and didn't know what to say, but she still wouldn't let me plow through it. So I was disappointed, and since I don't really need anything, I'm not sure I'll go back, but, well, you know I will. But I'm not sure what was in the boxes, other than they were Brown & Sharpe boxes that have been there since the beginning of time. So now let's take a look at that video, and then that'll be the end of this chapter of This and That, number 40, and I'll just conclude it now. Thank you for watching, but stay tuned for that very short video clip where I open up the door and you see what's inside. So long for now. New old stock.
Oh, I didn't know that.